Hey guys, welcome to day 31 of my self-connection experiment where I've been meditating every day for 2 hours and then sharing my experiences with you. Today I haven't been feeling that motivated, and my mom and we're doing this podcast together. We've done a couple, but now we're looking forward to trying to do them more consistently. And so I just thought it'd be cool to see if we could do a little bit of the podcast for my 31st video and just to kind of see how that goes. So, how are you doing today, Mom?
I'm feeling great today.
So this is my mom. Her name's Sherry. You might have heard me talk about her a few times, probably referring to her and her horses. You love horses, right?
I'm that crazy little horse girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Once you fall in love with a horse, you just
Yeah.
can't unfall in love.
Yeah. I've been actually seeing horses in a new way lately. Through meditating a bunch, I've started connecting with animals differently. I'm more seeing, we were talking about, I'm more seeing horses as individuals and not just, oh, there's a horse. I'm able to tell more like how they're unique and how like they all have their own personality and you can connect to them all in a different way. And so
It's interesting that you say that meditating has brought you this. With me, when I'm with my horses, that's kind of my form of meditation.
yeah.
Because when I'm with a horse, all other thoughts leave. And it's very, I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for, but it's
Connects you to your soul.
totally, yes.
Yeah.
So being with a horse to me is a meditation.
Wow. You know, it's funny you say that because when I'm become this crazy cat person, I guess, which is
Yes, you have.
which is really unexpected. Because I came back home when I was going to come back here and start following my creative passions, and you guys agreed to let me stay here in this amazing studio that we're shooting in now. I had no connection with cats at all.
Right.
And you guys just had these 3 barn cats, and something just happened to where I just fell in love with them, and now we're just very close. And what I'm getting at is when I'm around them, I feel like they bring me into a more meditative state. Because if you watch these cats, all they're ever doing is stretching or yawning or laying on their back, or sometimes they go hunting, but they're always, it seems like, just in the flow. Nothing's forced with the cat. It just has this intuitive sense at all times, and it just. And so I'm just learning a lot from spending time with just these 3 barn cats. I can't, so I relate to.
Right, and that's the way I'm with my horses especially when I'm just out there being with them.
Yeah.
I can get into that same flow, and something I like to do is like if they're out grazing, I'll go and stand next to them and pretend like I'm chomping, or if they start yawning, I'll mimic their yawn, and pretty soon, we're all kind of flowing as one, and
Wow.
And I'll see my horses, give signs for relaxation, like when they like shake their head and neck down or give a big yawn. That's a big release for them and a big way to like when we sigh and go ha. That's kind of what they're doing.
I've been feeling that all day today. I've been feeling like when I'm craving and wanting things, I'm always just wanting to feel better. But if I'll just come inward and like literally just relax and open my body and just kind of melt, that better feeling is always right there for us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like almost an animal can just teach us to just that if you'll just relax and be at ease and let go, that better feeling you're looking for in whatever achievement, that person, the external object,
right.
It's always right here. And I think that might be some of what, for me, for sure, being around an animal teaches me. Everything's always perfect as it is.
Right. And I think for me, a good way to get there is through breath. And I've noticed that with my horses, they'll give a huge exhale, and when I do the same, I'm like, oh, gosh, that feels so good.
Yeah.
Everything's just the way it should be.
Yeah.
But
totally.
because I think sometimes we just like forget that we need to.
You know, I've been getting so busy lately that it's funny. The rest of the world is kind of going into how I was living these last 6 months, and now I'm starting to become like this busy person stuck in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday, that's what kind of happened to me. Is I just got tunnel vision, and I was up here. And it's when we're just up here living through the mind. That's when we disconnect from that at ease, that surrendered feeling that we can find in the body. And so it's like the horses help bring you into your body more, because to truly connect with the horse, you can't just be up here.
Oh no.
Right?
Not at all. Yeah.
And I notice that with the cats too, is
Right.
that connection's just, they help bring me back. Like the present moment can be felt more fully when you're in your heart, when you're in your body. And I notice a big difference with you, you know, after you've been with your horses for a long time, as
Right.
opposed to when you've been without them for a few days.
Right.
There's a big difference in your connection to yourself, you know, and
Yeah, for sure. I totally feel that.
you can feel that too.
Totally. Even the other day, I got up and I just was having quite a morning and I just didn't feel right. But typically, I get up and the first thing I do in the morning is I go out and just tell my horses good morning. And one of them's usually laying in the straw, and I'll go lay across her and snuggle up a little bit. And that morning, I just hadn't gone out because I'm not going to work right now because we're quarantined. So I just thought I'll go out later. Well, the whole morning I was just grumpy and irritated with your dad and just.
Yeah.
And I realized, gosh, I haven't seen my horses yet. And so I went outside, just spent a few minutes with them, came back, and it was like,
Yeah.
you know, I just was able to let down and just be me and not be up here and be more here.
And that's when making it so, and like my meditations are doing the same thing for me. I'll meditate in the morning, but if I don't meditate the rest of the day, if I get stuck in my head, I'll feel super off. I even won't sleep that good that night, but the next morning, because it's a part of me now, I have that reset. And I feel like that's with your horses, that's what you're kind of starting to cultivate now, is just that daily time with them and realizing how important that is for your feeling of wholeness, you know,
Right.
your relaxation, your
Totally.
connection
Yeah.
to yourself.
Yeah. I feel very blessed that I have the horses here at home now.
Yeah.
And, I think about how many years I went without them. I had them when I was younger, and then I didn't have them for a long time, and now I have them again, and then I was boarding, but now I have them at home. So at any point during the day, I can just walk out and get filled up.
That's so amazing, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of go like plug in.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know people plug in different ways. I know you meditate.
Yeah.
I do my horses. I know people who dance,
Oh,
people who do art.
Yeah.
People, there's just so many different ways to plug in.
Yeah. And it's funny how if we have a phone and it goes to 0% battery, we can't use it anymore. But so much in life, when we go to 0% battery, we keep trying to force it. We keep trying to summon the energy. We drink more caffeine or take something or, and it's when we're acting from a place of when we're not plugged in, when we're not fully charged, then we're just kind of creating more of the same, more of that same stress. If we're acting from a place of stress, we're creating more stress.
Right.
But if we're acting from a place where we're taking the time to nourish our soul, connecting to the horse, meditating, dancing, painting, teaching yoga, whatever, doing yoga, then we can bring that nourishment, we can bring that fullness to everything else we do. We have so much more to give. And I think a lot of us feel like guilty for nourishing ourselves or something, like society's told us. A lot of times if we listen to like what our conditioning says or our society says, we have that guilt about spending so much time on ourselves, for ourselves. But really, we're only as valuable to others as we are connected to ourselves, right?
Yeah, and I really felt that when you kids were little and I was working full time and going to school full time, and it just was so much. The first thing that would leave my schedule would be self-care.
Yeah.
Because I just always felt like everyone else needed, well then, I would just get drained. Like there was nothing, if I wasn't whole, I couldn't possibly take care of everything else.
Yeah.
And that was Yeah, I actually had some health issues and different problems because of that.
You've come a long, long way with your health. I mean, you started having
Yeah.
issues when you were my age,
Right.
right? Weren't you?
I was
What did you
30.
go to when you were 30?
Yeah, I went and I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah.
And then I went to rheumatologist who specified that as mixed connective tissue disease and started me on steroids, and that lasted about 6 weeks, and I went to a naturopathic physician and got off of all that and changed my diet and changed my habits and got healthy.
And then I know when I came back to Texas, when I was going through my dark night, as I started healing and as I started coming, as the Kundalini, as Spirit, as God started teaching me how to heal myself through that process, I remember a big thing with you was your neck.
Yes.
And it's a miracle you're even riding horses.
Right.
Basically, because your neck, when I first came back to Texas, you were considering neck surgery.
Right, I have a herniated cervical disc.
Yeah.
And I've had flare-ups for about the last 7 years, but I've had like 3 major ones where I had to get spinal injections and whatnot. And this last one, they wouldn't even do the injections. They just said, you need surgery.
Right. And you were like a day away, weren't you, or something?
Well, the night before my pre-op appointment, I canceled it because I thought, you know what? I actually feel really good.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to get surgery. And I know a lot of that was because I was going to this doctor at Arasti who was working on me and giving me exercises, which I still do. But I think a lot of it was just learning to take care of Sherry, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel in that time it was so cool because we were kind of transforming together with how we dealt with our anxiety and how we have always been people to just try to suppress our anxiety, get rid of it, avoid it, run from it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think as I started allowing my anxiety to come up and allowing myself to feel it without resisting it and became less afraid of it, you know? I feel like you were going through something similar, and that cleared up so much, because the neck thing, it felt like to me was so much tension, right?
So much tension. And with you learning that anxiety is just energy.
Yeah.
Just having that in my mind, just thinking about whenever I started feeling anxious, and I know I get really tight all through here when I'm anxious. Just thinking of it as energy. Okay, this is just energy.
Yeah.
And just thinking that helped me a lot. It's just energy. It's just energy.
Yeah. Because when we label it like anxiety,
having an anxiety attack.
Then we shut down and contract.
Yeah. But when it was just, it's energy, let's let it flow.
Yeah.
And that has made all the difference in the world. I rarely have problems with that anymore. And I could feel myself getting anxious, but I can just open to it and breathe and just know that it's energy.
Yeah, it just wants to move, it just wants to flow.
Right.
And we spent our whole life doing the exact opposite.
Oh gosh, yeah, it's just, I don't want to feel that. Let me put it.
And for me, same, and it would just build up, and then all of a sudden, panic attack.
Exactly.
It would just come exploding out in a panic attack. And I was always looking at externals. This is why I'm anxious. If I just eat the perfect food, if I just find the perfect pill, if I just find the perfect person, or whatever, anything but feeling the feelings I didn't want to feel.
Yeah.
But I just feel like it's cool how I think in different ways we both started kind of waking up to our soul and our like higher self.
Right.
In that period of time, because I know when I was going through my excruciatingly just very dark period, that also had a big impact on you, probably.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of sleepless nights, and I sat by your bed and laid hands on you and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and
before I even cared about praying.
Exactly.
It's like, what is she doing? She thinks that's gonna help. Doesn't she know I'm hopeless? She should just give up. That was what I was thinking back then. I just wish my mom didn't care about me so much so I could just leave this body.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I think your love for me, your unconditional support, and your belief that I would get better. You told me so many times, you're gonna get through this, and I didn't ever believe you.
Right.
For so many months. You'd say it and say it and say it, you're gonna come through this, and I was just like, no, I'm not.
And you're going to use this experience to help others.
And I was just
I
like,
just knew in my heart that you would.
I was just like, there's no fucking way that's ever happening, and I just wish she would get that through her head that I'm permanently broken, you know?
Yeah.
But it was your love for me that really kept me going through like the really the darkest part of it when I was this close, you know? I was just like, I have to hang in there for my mom. I even was like, I can live this miserable just to, you know, for my parents, my mom. And
right.
so, yeah, I think it was kind of a little bit of a dark night for you too, because you were having a job that was, have you forgot that's there yet? Hi guys. You were working a job you did not love, we'll say.
Oh, it was extremely difficult, yes.
And it was really stressing you out.
Very stressful.
It was taking every second of every day.
Yes, it was many, many hours.
And then you had your son at home who couldn't get out of bed, and who was suicidal, and we didn't know what the hell was going on.
Right.
Because we couldn't pinpoint it, you know. We had all these tests.
And we were going to doctor, to psychologist, to
So
ER.
you had to have been going through your own.
Well, yeah, and I wasn't sleeping.
You weren't sleeping.
Because I was up at night thinking about you and checking on you, and yeah, it was tough. Yeah, it was definitely a difficult time.
What good things do you think came from that for you?
Oh, you know, I really well, like I said, my whole attitude towards anxiety and being anxious has changed.
Yeah.
It's really deepened my faith for sure.
That's what I was literally thinking when I asked the question.
You know, I'll never doubt ever again. Just seeing the transformation and knowing that I was praying, and I had some really close friends who were praying as well, and just knowing that God does answer prayers.
You know, and I feel in my heart so deeply now that the prayers did make a difference.
Oh yeah.
That the prayers helped the Kundalini process integrate, helped me to unconsciously surrender when I didn't have the ability to do that. Mm-hmm. And it helped me to, like, the prayers really, you know, ushered in like this new phase in my dark night. I don't think it was like, it didn't make things instantly better, but at least there was something, you know, greater happening for me. I don't know how to even explain it.
Well, and I think that, like, when you would be just on the brink of giving up, you'd find something that would be like, oh, this gives me some hope, you know, and how did those things end up in front of you? Yeah. It was a God thing.
Yeah, the intelligence of life was there supporting me the whole way.
Yeah.
And it's funny now, I can notice the difference in my day when I'm not connected to this intelligence, when I'm not praying, when I'm not asking God, the divine, the universe to use me as a conduit, to use me as a vessel, you know, to anchor love and peace. I can feel a major difference.
Oh, sure.
And I do feel like prayer does have so much power, because it really does help you to let go of the things you can't control, which is basically everything. And it helps you to just trust that life is a supportive, friendly place to be. Right. And the more I've prayed, the more I feel myself opening to this support, to this divine intelligence, and the more I can now physically feel the grace.
Right.
And that's something that if I was watching this 3 years ago, I'd be like, Matt, is he going through like is he talking about a sci-fi book he's reading?
Right.
But it's become so real and so ingrained in such a part of me. Right. And I know when I'm allowing God, when I'm allowing the universe to live through me as me, it's a different experience of life than when Matt's out there trying to achieve things.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
And I feel like, it's so funny. When I asked you, what did you think came from you when I was in my dark moment, I was like, it must have deepened her relationship to God.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, you know, I grew up in a church, and it was like you're supposed to pray at certain times and certain ways, and I don't attend church anymore, but I'm so much more spiritual now. Yeah. And I feel like I have like this ongoing prayer from the time I wake to the time I go to sleep. Yeah. And there's times when I'm deeper into it, like one of the times is when I'm like doing chores, when I'm shoveling horse poop. Yeah. That's a time that I really feel connected, and I really go deep into prayer during that time, because I'm alone with my scoop and my wagon.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I have that same experience it's a lot of times when I'm in a lot of pain,
Mm-hmm.
or when I'm in a lot of ecstasy and euphoria. Those are the times I'm like really open to it.
Right.
It's when I'm just kind of okay, that's when
Mhm.
there's resistance there.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, sure, because you got this.
Yeah, it's when I really need it, or when I'm freaking feeling
Like,
amazing
right.
and super connected already. That's when it just comes easily.
Yeah.
It's the times when we're just, kind of like, okay.
And I know, like in the morning, my prayers start with just a grateful.
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful for where I live and you know, my loved ones, and I have just so many blessings. And when I wake up in the morning, that's when that hits me, and that's the way I start my day.
That's beautiful. That's my teacher Craig has that same movement.
Mm-hmm.
God used me as a conduit. When I'm a great thing to do when you're in a state of lack, when I'm in a state of lack, really feeling that, I don't know if you probably, of course you do, we all do. You feel just kind of like, empty or just in that state of desperation or something. I'll just look around and I'll be like, geez, thank you for these plants.
Right.
Thank you for the amazing Aries zodiac sign on the wall. Thank you for that amazing music player. Thank you for water whenever I want to drink. The blue sky.
Mountains.
Thank you for this prana, this air I'm breathing. There's so many things that we have to be thankful for.
Right.
It can shift us from an I want vibration, which is lack, to an I have vibration, which is abundance. Just by looking, everyone can just look around. Whether you could even say a yoga mat, a bed, a blanket, an animal.
And I think that's especially true right now with the position we're all in with the coronavirus and being self-quarantined, and starting tomorrow now we have a stay-at-home order from the governor, that I think that all of us really need to look around and just be super grateful and be grateful for this time that we have with families.
Yeah.
I teach part-time, and I really miss my students, and they're missing each other, but I think, what a special time these families have.
Mm-hmm.
When have they ever been told, you have to stay home together?
Yeah.
If they can look at it like, this is really awesome. We're going to play some board games and we're going to connect, rather than, this is the worst thing that could ever happen to us, and we're going to,
In my videos, when I shoot them, when I start talking about this is happening for humanity's evolution, the universe is birthing a new consciousness through the coronavirus epidemic, and things like this are going to keep happening to keep birthing this new consciousness, because it's going to help people trigger up their fear, their trauma, the things that are in them that they were previously unaware of, just like a spiritual awakening does.
Sure.
So they're going to see them, and then they're going to be able to integrate them, and that's how they're conscious. Every time I do that, I always get goosebumps and shivers, and it's just like, that feels so true to me that this is a movement of grace, what's happening right now. Like you're saying, it's such an opportunity for people to connect with themselves, their family, to strengthen that, to have a time where they can say, do I even like what I'm doing in my life?
Right.
Do I even, like, when this whole thing ends, many people are going to be like, I'm not going back to the way I used to live. Right. I'm not going back to that job. I'm not going back to that addiction, that hobby. That's not true, because people right now are starting to feel like what's more true about them, I think.
Exactly. And even if they choose to go back to something,
they
might choose to continue something they started here. Like maybe they started a daily yoga practice, or started a daily prayer, or devotional time, or meditation time, or something to take care of themselves, or a daily walk. And maybe as they go back, they'll go back with different habits.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree.
Which will make us all healthier.
Yeah. Cool. We did good, I think.
I think we're done.
Yeah, I think we made it. Love you, Mom.
I love you too.
Thanks for joining me. Day 31 of my Self-Connection Challenge podcast with my mom. Thank you for watching. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
I was nervous at first, for sure. I've been feeling kind of in an anxious state all day.
Yeah.
Just happens every now and then.
Yeah.
So, this is good to do.
Yep.
Loosen me up.
This is awesome.
Okay.
Next week.
See you next week.
Place.